You're listening to a fight against free kill laws from AMP Media Production Studio.
Welcome to the Fight Against Free Kill Laws with Ed Salazar, where we give a voice to those who have suffered firsthand from medical malpractice. In Florida, families devastated by medical negligence are left without justice because of a law many don't even know exists. Florida's free kill law prevents families from holding doctors accountable. These are real stories with real loss and no justice. Contact Ed at 561-239-2417 or visit afreekill.com. Today we uncover the truth, share real stories, and demand change.
Good evening, friends, and thank you again for taking the time to tune in and listen to our podcast. It's only Tuesday, and it's already been a very busy week. We had the Miami-Dade legislative meeting yesterday, and I had the pleasure of spending some time with Travis Cretin and Veronica Morrison. All three of us had an opportunity to express our feelings to the senators attending, and we got some assurance that if the effort to overturn this law gets to the same stage this year that it did last year, that they would make efforts to turn over the veto should Governor DeSantis decide to do that again. Also, I want you to please remember Darryl Parrott and his billboard campaign. Anything you can do to help support us, to help support Darryl and his efforts, and to sustaining this program is deeply appreciated. Simply log on to his website here, and the little red button there will explain what you can do to help. Any help at all from anyone would be greatly appreciated. Okay, this evening our guest is going to be Mary Jo Cain Reis. I was introduced to Mary Jo through Melody McDonald, and this is just yet another story of how families are so horribly impacted by these draconian laws. Could we bring in Mary Jo, please? Good evening, Mary Jo.
Hi, Ed. How you doing?
Good. Thank you for taking the time to join us. Much appreciated.
Of course.
Also, speaking of billboard campaigns, I'd like to be sure to mention that it was Mary Jo who put up the first billboard in Florida. I believe you said it was outside of Orlando?
Right inside Orlando, on a major highway that leads to Disney World and Universal Studios and all those huge tourist areas. So I thought for sure it would get attention. And it did get attention. I received lots of press on it. I've received thousands of calls. And every day since I started this journey, I've gotten calls from people. I've gotten messages on Facebook in different areas where people are contacting me saying, "Oh my God, what can I do to change this law? I became a victim. Whoever became a victim of it."
Excuse me just one second.
absolutely-
Excuse me just one. Can we put Mary Jo's billboard up? There we go. And again, I just want to remind our viewers that you took this on yourself. You funded it out of your own pocket.
Yes, I did.
That's
I
how
felt like-
committed you are.
Yes, totally. I felt that it was the only way to get these legislators' attention. Nobody knows about the law unless you're affected by it. So what better way is to put it on a billboard where everybody can see it, and then they start asking questions, and it's not swept under the carpet anymore. There's so many people that have been educated about this law, and they most of the time they're in disbelief. They say, "No way! I think you're wrong. There's no way that could be happening," until
Yeah.
they find out. And I give them a copy of Statute 768.21, subsection 8, and then they say, "Oh, okay, yeah," because most of the time people aren't affected by this. If you're not affected, you don't know. but I'm trying to educate the public on that because it affects even tourists. It doesn't just affect residents of Florida. It affects anybody who steps foot in Florida. No matter who you are, you will be affected eventually. And it's sad. I mean, this year we made such great strides. We had both House and Senate passing the law, excuse me, passing the repeal, and Governor DeSantis vetoed it
Right.
just because he gets so much funding from these insurance lobbyists. I mean, it's ridiculous. It is ridiculous. And someone needs to step forward and say, hey, you know what? We're going to make this right this year. When we go back to session in January, I'm hoping that it'll move through again, just like last year, and we get this law repealed once and for all. It needs to go bye-bye because it's
Well,
not,
as
it's
as you
discriminatory. Go ahead.
as you stated, you know, our numbers are growing. They're growing exponentially. You know,
Yes.
I'm getting calls. I got 3 calls today from people.
Wow.
Our efforts through this broadcast and through our other through the Florida Medical Rights Association, all of these things are reaching out to people, and it's sad,
It
but
is.
kind of amazing how many people there are and how many people are responding. And you're
Well,
absolutely right, Mary Jo. This cannot continue to be ignored.
I have to tell you something really strange. An hour ago, just before I went on, I have a TikTok. So I get a direct message from TikTok and I'm like, wow, okay. And I get a lot of those. So I mean, you don't know if
Mhm.
what it could be legit and maybe it's not. I check it out. It is a woman who sends me a message just an hour ago saying, I just found you on TikTok and I'm in the same predicament. She's from New York and she had a family member that's a victim of this law. And I said, okay. And I set up a meeting with her. I'm going to be meeting with her later in the week. But do you understand how many people are affected? It's just crazy that we're having this conversation as I speak. And just an hour ago, this lady contacted me out of the blue. And I mean, social media is amazing for getting the message out. But I just found it crazy that just an hour ago, I have another person calling me
Yeah.
regarding this horrific law. So, I mean, everybody's out here and we all want to do something. I will keep fighting until my last breath. A lot of people have told me, oh, you should just let it go. No, it's 5 years later. In January 1st, it'll be 6 years. I've been fighting this law and I'm not letting it go. I'm going to keep fighting until we get results because I'm doing it for other people. Nobody should have to be faced with what you and I have been faced with. You know what I'm saying? It's
Well,
just not right.
go ahead and you know, tell the viewers exactly how the misfortune
Ugh.
you had to make you.
Yeah, it's very soft subject, but excuse me, it's a hard subject. I have a soft spot for it, I meant. My dad was he was great. He was in his 80s, living in Florida, living his beautiful golden years. And one day he had fallen and they said he had a stroke. Now, A, do we know if he had a stroke before he fell or did he have a stroke as a result of the fall? We'll never know. He was brought to a hospital and the trauma unit, and I received a call in downtown Chicago. We have your dad here. I had my sister on the phone. We have your dad here. He had a stroke. We need to do a thrombectomy or we need to give him medication to resolve the stroke. So me knowing nothing about a stroke and what you do after that, we discussed it and they said it's best we go with a thrombectomy because your dad is on a blood thinner and we can't use the other method, which would be, I think they could have just gave him medication and it would have dissolved the clot. But anyway, so we agreed to that. My brother was immediately on a plane to Florida. I find out that my dad has this simple procedure, quote unquote. He ends up having a hemorrhagic conversion. He had another brain bleed in his brain. So now we're in we have a big problem now because my dad is out of it. They have to intubate him and they put him into a coma state. He was on a ventilator. Long story short, the doctor that did the surgery, The thrombectomy comes out and he says, "Oh, I'm sorry. It was, an accident, but I caused a hemorrhagic conversion." We didn't know what to do at this point. He admitted fault that he did that. Okay, great. Let's move on now. So my dad ends up being in the hospital 30 days at Holmes Regional Medical Center in Melbourne. During that whole course of his stay, I was there. It got to the point where they figure out, oh, you know what? He doesn't need a ventilator. They take him off the ventilator and they decide to trach him. Then they trach him, but he's breathing on his own. I mean, all these things, it just was a calamity of craziness. They weren't feeding him. They ended up getting him a feeding tube because I asked, doesn't he have to have nutrition, whatever? I felt like I was the advocate for the whole hospital because no one seemed to know what they were doing, and it's sad. But anyway, we'll just go with it. We just want my dad to recover. I had one doctor walk in one day and she says to me, your dad lived a good life. I think, you should just say goodbye already. I said, excuse me, why would I say goodbye? Where's he going? He could recover from this. I was told he could recover from this. Everybody was negative. They were trying to let us just let him go and die, which was ridiculous. So he was there for 30 days. After that, they came in one day and said, oh, you know what, we got to get him out of here. He's been here 30 days. It's time to go. Okay.
Okay, well, we've lost the connection here. Fortunately, we're taping this program, so we're going to be able to edit this.
What happened?
Okay, are you back?
Yeah, I'm
Okay,
here.
never mind. We'll
happened?
continue. I have no idea,
Oh,
but go
did
ahead and
something happen?
continue. Yeah,
Yeah,
we
I wonder
lost
what
you for a
happened.
second, but that's okay. Go ahead.
Okay. Okay, sorry, Ed. But anyway, so they said we have to put him into a long-term hospital. So we found a hospital that was right near Holmes Regional, and we brought him over, I should say, to Kindred Hospital. Okay? So he's in Kindred Hospital. I find out they're not even taking care of him. They're over medicating him. He's just like a vegetable. He was supposed to be getting physical therapy. One day I walk in, he's sitting in a recliner. That was their physical therapy. He was in a recliner. His head was down. He was practically asphyxiating himself. I call for the nurse. She said, "Oh, he was doing physical therapy, blah, blah, blah." They take him out of the chair. They throw him into the bed. Literally, he's in the bed now, but he's not coherent. Finally, one day I said, "Well, we can't communicate with him. Is there something we could do for him?" So I had a respiratory therapist come in and say, "Yeah, you could put a passy valve in him." Or I think it was called a passy valve. They
Passing
put
me up.
that in there. He started talking. Okay. So we start talking to him. We started hearing things. All of a sudden, a nurse comes in and says, "Why aren't you giving him pain medication? He really needs pain medication. Why do you want him to suffer?" I could talk to my dad at this point. He was not in any pain. I mean, we asked him, "Why would we give him pain medication?" Long story short, he had horrible care. They were not bathing him. They weren't taking care of him at all. He would just lay there like a vegetable until we became on scene. The one day I would walk in, all these people would just scatter. They saw me coming and they would run because they didn't want to hear from me because I would ask questions. Long story short, 3 months passed and they decided, "Oh, it's time for you to leave now, Mr. Cain." Where are we going to bring Mr.
This is
Cain?
from Kindred after
Well,
three
he could go.
months.
Yeah, after 3 months at Kindred, it's time to go now. You overstayed your welcome. So now we're going to put him into a nursing home, quote, according to them. We find a nice nursing home, assisted living, whatever. We put him in there. I went back home. I came back to see my dad. He was delirious. He was all the way down at the end of a hallway. No one was taking care of him. Delirious, moaning in pains. It was awful. I call the nurse. There was no nurse on duty. There was two people that were not even nurses. The one lady comes and I said, "What's going on?" She's like, "Oh, I don't know." I said, "Did you not hear my dad screaming?" She said, "Oh, I didn't know. I thought he was talking to himself." You could tell the difference, okay, but that's here nor there. I said, "We need to get him medical treatment right away. He's delirious." I end up calling 911. Fire department comes, paramedics. I had 7 people in front of me. I said, "We need to get my dad out of here immediately." This woman kicks me in the leg and says, do not bring him over to Vieira Hospital. Do not bring him there. The fireman says to me, oh, wait a minute. It's right over across the parking lot. We'll just bring him over there. I said, no, I want to bring him back to Cape Canaveral Hospital in his area. They said, well, you're going to have to sign a release. Okay, fine. Did that. We brought him to Cape Canaveral. I had 2 doctors and about 6 different nurses and different technicians. They flipped him over and they find a bed sore in the back of him that was the size of a golf ball. You could put a golf ball into his back end. We never even knew this existed. They start taking a bunch of pictures, documenting it, and telling me, hey, you know what? Your dad was mistreated. This is gross medical negligence. You should go after them, meaning the other
Mm-hmm.
hospitals.
Yeah.
And I said, wait a minute, what? Okay. So all time passed. My dad recovered. He ended up having sepsis, MRSA, and pneumonia all at the same time. They gave him antibiotics. My dad actually recovered. 30 days later, now we're figuring out where are we going to put him now. We ended up bringing him to his home, hiring a nurse to come in, and home health care, which there's only one in that area. You don't have home health care. Anyway,
Okay. Well,
we,
excuse me. I just want to be sure we got this. Okay.
okay,
So he had a fresh decubitus. He had a big bed sore, and
huge bed sore.
it had never been cultured.
Never.
It wasn't
No.
until you got to Cape Canaveral that they cultured it and found out.
It was MRSA, pneumonia, and sepsis he had. He was
Well,
really on his deathbed right there. And they cured him from all that just by giving him antibiotics. So now we have to move him out of there. So we decided to bring him home, get home health care. We found this one agency that actually did home health care. We brought him to his home. He also, I forgot to mention, he still had that trachea that they
yes.
said wasn't necessary, but we'll leave it in. Okay. He couldn't eat, so he was eating by a feeding tube. So now we had to find someone that could handle the feeding tube in his home environment. We ended up getting someone. That started to seem like he was recovering. We ended up hiring another nurse out of our own pocket, my family members paying a nurse to take care of him, to bathe him, and just do necessary things. We were always there. One family member was always there with my dad. We never left him unattended. He started like to seem to get better. And then he had another home health care nurse that came in, and then another one, and then we had a wound nurse and a wound doctor, and he just start all of a sudden he's just start getting decaying, I should say, and
Declining.
finally declining. Excuse me. So we finally had another nurse come in where he had diarrhea. I mean, not to be graphic, but he had diarrhea. He was on a feeding tube. There's no way you're going to get someone with solid defecation through a feeding tube. So she suggested we give him Imodium. Okay. My brother was giving him Imodium. Well, if you look it up, Imodium is not supposed to be given to someone with a heart condition. So I think that was with the finale when that came because he died thereafter. We always had horrible guidance. The medical field in Florida that we dealt with was absolutely abominable. And that is a scary thing to not have good medical people, you know? But with that said, I'm sure there's good ones out there somewhere. But after this was all said and done, I was advised by the gentleman that owned the home health care to take these people to task and make sure that they know that you can't go around treating people like that. So my whole goal was just to go after them and file a complaint with the Department of Health, which I did. I also contacted Human Services. I was told to talk to ACA. I get a letter back from ACA after 2 months, 3 months, and they said, I'm sorry, the hospital that you reported was already certified. What does it have to do with this? They committed wrongdoing and there's nothing you can do about it. So where do we go from here? So now we go to an attorney, of course, because they're the only ones that I can think of that can get action and make sure that this doesn't happen to another person. We go to the attorney. It was Morgan and Morgan. talking to the gentleman. He says, tell your mom to come in the office because you have to sign your document. And I said, what are you talking about? My mom? My mom's dead. She's been dead for years. Oh, whoa, this changes everything. You don't have a case now because you're over the age of 25. You can't do anything about it. You could bring me video, you can bring me pictures, you can bring me documented proof that your dad was a victim of gross medical negligence, and there's nothing you can do about it. I was horrified. I couldn't even believe it. I said, wait a minute, what? These people committed negligence, but they're going to go off and just treat someone else and mistreat somebody else. Yep, there's nothing you can do, but you can do something. And they showed me statute 768.21, subsection 8. I have it ingrained in my head. You cannot do anything. And that was it. So I decided to advocate for people and make people aware of this law that is just awful. So since then, this was in 2020, my dad passed away in 2020. Since then, I've met so many people in the course of working on this, and it's horrific. One story is more horrific than the next. The things that have gone on, and no one pays the price. There's no accountability. These people can roam around and do whatever they want. It's just another day for them. It has no effect on their life, but they have affected other people's lives, and they don't seem to care. So I swore again on my dad's life that I would make sure I keep fighting till the last breath I take. And that's what I'm doing.
Can we put that picture up of Mary Jo and her father? I mean, you know, just the smiles on both your faces. It
Uh,
pretty much says it all, doesn't it?
yeah.
So this
Yep.
whole this whole saga, this horrible saga,
It's a saga. Yep. Yep.
it it this went on for how long now? When did it start?
5 years. He died on August 29, 2020. But the wheel started turning from day one when he was in the trauma center at Holmes Regional in ICU. The different things that went on there was just unbelievable. I mean, he was treated like a dog, and I hate to say that. Actually, I treat my dog better. Um, just the calamity of what is really going on in these hospitals. You have one nurse running everything? Excuse me? I mean, I remember the day she said, "Oh my God, he's got a fever. We need to go get ice packs." They had him almost naked laying in the bed because he had a fever. I said, wait a minute, I know my dad. My dad is always cold. You need to at least put a sheet on him and give him some respect. She said, oh no, we have to get the fever down. And she's putting ice packs under my dad's arms. The room was at least 60 degrees. I am not exaggerating. That was horrific. I mean, I look at back on the calamity of this stuff, and you have these people who are so unprofessional, and they really don't know what they're doing. That right arm doesn't know what the left arm's doing. And we are faced with this though, because these people in Florida have no choice. They have to go with what the medical setting is telling them. And it's scary out there. And again, there's no accountability. So if these people commit wrongdoing, they have nothing to worry about because no one's going to go after them. Department of Health, all these different agencies that they say are set up to combat this stuff, they're not doing anything. They're another agency that needs to be rehauled, reevaluated, and someone needs to get in there and fix it because it's not working. Um,
Do you think that in your family's case, if there had been an advocate, a patient advocate with knowledge of insurances and with knowledge of procedures, you know, someone who could understand, you know, the language of the hospital, that would have been helpful?
it probably would have been helpful, but the only time I got to be honest, I never really saw a social worker until my dad's stay was over at Kindred, where I had a woman literally arguing with me on the phone saying my dad needs to go. And it was a horrible, horrible encounter. But that's the only time the social worker or an advocate gets involved in these settings because it's all about money. They want to make sure they're paid and they're doing everything. In my opinion, these companies are, or these hospitals are ripping off Medicare and these insurance companies. They are. They're just making up stuff. I looked at some of his itemized bills and I'm like, wait, he didn't even have this. Wait, he didn't have this, but they were paid. And again, the social worker, whatever, that would probably help these in these settings, but I don't think it's not feasible. I don't think it'll ever happen because at the end of the day, it's all about money, just
You
like
know,
with everything else.
I, if anyone listening or anyone has knowledge of this, it seems to me, and I'm not going to swear by this, but at one time I heard that in some of these hospitals, these step-down hospitals, these long-term care facilities,
Mm-hmm.
that once you've been there for more than 90 days, 100 days, something like that, your classification changes to
Oh,
institutional. You're institutional, considered an institutional patient.
right.
And subsequently, the reimbursement from insurance goes down.
Well, you hit the nail right on the head. That's why they wanted to get rid of my dad because they knew they weren't going to get the top dollar. It's time to send Tom out. Bye bye, Tom. See ya. And that's why they did it. And another thing I want to mention, something that really made me absolutely sick was I would visit my dad and I would literally stay there sometimes 12 hours sitting at his bedside. The one day I walk in and there was like a party going on at the reception desk. And I looked and I'm like, okay, whatever, you know. So finally there was a lady moaning next to our room, crying, nurse, 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 and no one paid attention to her. So I finally got up and I asked her, what do you want? She goes, oh, I want them to listen to me. Whatever. Okay. So eventually our nurse came back in the room and I said, excuse me, can I ask you who that lady is over there with the dark hair? And she says, "Oh, you mean we'll make up a name. We'll call her Jennifer." "Oh, you mean Jennifer?" "Yeah, Jennifer. What's her capacity? Is she the receptionist there?" She said, "Oh, no. She's an RN." I said, "She's an RN?" "Wait, she's been sitting at that desk all day long. Does she even have any patients? I mean, what's the scoop there?" She said, "Oh, she's got patients, but her patients are down the hall there. That's where all the bad patients are." So Jennifer sat on her phone, stared at a computer, and played games all day during her shift. Ed, she never did an ounce of work. And this person's an RN. Do you think I have any respect for that institution? After
Well,
hearing that, I was just mortified. And I said, you know what? We can never leave my dad alone. This is insanity. Also, I might add, after I complained about my dad not moving, all of a sudden one day I have two nurses come in, or I don't know if they were techs or what, maybe a medical assistant. They said, "Oh, we're the turnover team, or we're the some kind of turn team. We're going to turn your dad over." They knew all along my dad had a bed sore, but we didn't know because I don't usually go in and start stripping my dad down and looking at his dupa.
yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Well,
And what it
we're getting
was
kind of
they,
into. I'm sorry, Mary Jo.
yeah, go
We're
ahead.
running low on time here, and we're
Yeah,
kind
go
of
ahead.
getting
Go ahead.
into another. We're kind of getting into
No.
another
Oh, no, no, I
area.
know. I know. No,
But
no problem.
I want to tell you how much we appreciate your passion and your
Sure.
commitment. And it's
For
been
sure.
my absolute pleasure to get to know you. I'm sorry it was like this.
Sure.
Um,
No, I know. And I hate, sometimes you have to tell me because, there's
well,
so many
and
stories I could write a book like you.
I know that you're in the Chicago area,
Yes,
but when you if you have reason to come down to Florida, you be sure to let us know you're coming.
I will. I
All
will.
right.
I'm a frequent visitor to Florida because I hate the cold weather. So I will be coming soon. So definitely I will let you know.
All right. Well, listen. Thank you very much for taking the time to be part of this broadcast.
Thank you for inviting me. I really appreciate it, Ed. Thank you
And
so
we'll
much.
look forward to talking to you again.
Okay. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Take care.
Bye bye now.
Bye.
All right, folks. That's it. We this is going to be our last podcast until after the holidays. But I wish you all, a joyous holiday season, and try to take comfort where you can. From the bottom of my heart, I thank you for your support and your encouragement, and we're moving forward. Good night.
Imagine this. A loved one, a son or a daughter, has just suffered from a life-threatening accident. They are transported to a state trauma hospital, and despite being in the care of professional physicians, they tragically pass away due to preventable medical errors. As if this was not tragic enough, then finding out that legal statutes in the state of Florida devalue your loved one's life to zero. This is what we are fighting against. Come join Edward Salazar as he discusses the issues surrounding free kill laws and how to resolve them. Catch The Fight Against Free Kill Laws with Ed Salazar on Monday, 5 p.m. on all social media. Learn who we are and join our cause today. Thank you for watching The Fight Against Free Kill Laws with Ed Salazar, where we interview those who have dealt firsthand with medical malpractice. Families are devastated by medical malpractice and left with no justice. This isn't just a loophole. It's a failure to protect the ones we love. It's time to change the law. It's time for accountability. Contact your state legislatures, visit afreekill.com for more information on how to help, or contact Ed at 561-239-2417. Because every life should matter.
You're listening to A Fight Against Free Kill Laws from AMP Media Production Studio.